Hey, what's up, YouTube Nation? Thanks for tuning in. This is Nate today. Chris and Jeff they're not around, so I just put this video together myself, and I really wanted to do it because this is an Orzo pasta salad that I kind of came up with the recipe for, and every time I make it, it's just amazing how good it comes out. People absolutely love it. We took it camping. I think every family that we camped with except for one asked me for the recipe. My wife was looking for a side salad for the summer that wasn't mayonnaise based. I mean, I love a good potato salad and coleslaw, but those don't always keep super well at a barbecue, especially on a hot day. They're also kind of heavy. So I came up with this salad. It's light, it's oil based, it keeps well, and it's just packed with a ton of flavor. So I know Chris is always all over me, we got to do griddling in our griddle videos, but I felt like this one was one that I just wanted to share with you guys. Because, make it for yourself, bring it to a barbecue. It is just outstanding. So I wanted you to have it before summer was over. So here we go. So the ingredients for the salad are fresh onion and pepper, fresh celery, the zest of some lemons, some Italian, good seasoned Italian salad dressing mix, 2 boxes of Orzo pasta, fresh flat leaf parsley, and cucumbers. This is the basic mix for the salad. Oh, we also we're gonna make the dressing using some olive oil and white vinegar and a little bit of water. I'll put the recipe in the description. This is the base of the salad. You can feel free to add as many vegetables as you want. Some people put feta cheese in it, some people add olives, some people add a diced jalapeno, but this is what I start with, and people really seem to love it. The instructions, if I can get the camera to focus, the instructions say boil for 9 minutes. So we're gonna go right ahead and completely ignore that. And we're gonna set our timer for 11 minutes. The pasta is done. And remember, we cooked it an extra 2 minutes. Let me just pull it off the oven. And the reason I cook it an extra 2 minutes is because we're gonna cool it right away, so it doesn't stick to itself and turn into one giant mass of coagulated pasta. And I find cooking it the extra 2 minutes makes it a little bit more tender and allows it to absorb the dressing a little better. And I know everybody loves al dente pasta. I'm not a huge fan of al dente pasta. So this is cold water I'm rinsing it with. We just want to get some of that heat out of it so it doesn't continue cooking. So now that the pasta is cooled and drained, we're just going to dump it into 2 trays so we can mix it. You could use one big bowl for this. I prefer to use some wider mixing trays. Just a little easier to get everything mixed uniformly. Once I get it in the trays, I do drizzle a little bit of just extra light virgin olive oil on top of it and give it a stir. That helps stop it from sticking together while we do the rest of the salad. And while waiting, I'll put those in the fridge. Okay, now for the dressing. For the most part, we're pretty much just going to follow the instructions that are on the package here. So we're going to double it because we did 1 packet of seasoning per box of Orzo. So we got 2 packets. We have a half cup of plain white vinegar. 6 tablespoons of water, a cup of light olive oil, and if you were just making the regular dressing, that's where you would stop. What I add to it is the parsley, and you don't have to use parsley, you can use cilantro. My family happens to I got a couple of family members that don't love cilantro, so that's why I use flat leaf parsley. And the zest of a lemon to a lemon and a half, depending on how zesty or how lemony you want it. So that was the zest of 2 lemons. And we gotta kind of mash all this parsley in there. You can do this in a blender. You don't have to use a stick blender or an immersion blender. You can just do it in a food processor or a regular old blender. But here we go. So when it comes to deciding how much vegetable to put into your pasta, like your pasta to vegetable ratio, for me, this is a summer salad. I like a lot of vegetables in it. So I look at, how much pasta do I have, and I just, probably put in about half as much vegetables as I have pasta. This is a summer salad. We want to really highlight the vegetables that are in season. So that's the way I like it. It's totally up to you. There are a couple of tricks I do when cutting up the vegetables to try to make them taste a little bit better. I'm going to take you through each of those as I add the vegetables. When I'm doing the onion, I keep in mind not everybody likes onion, so I generally slice it fairly thin. Not paper thin, but much thinner than the peppers. And I'll put my finger sort of on the back side and hold that onion in place so that they stay stacked up, as you can see, like that. And then once I get through the whole onion, like that, I turn them sideways and I just come right down the middle. And that ends up giving you, some small pieces of onion, some long pieces of onion, but overall, they're fairly thin, as you can see. That way there, if you have somebody at your barbecue who doesn't love onion, they're not necessarily getting a big raw chunk in their mouth. So when I'm doing the peppers, but I slice them a little bit thick because this salad might be sitting for a while. And if you slice them too thin, what can happen is the dressing can make them kind of soggy and slimy. And then the other thing I do is I take out this white part here. So the easy way to do that is just start slicing in. So that's about the thickness that I do for the peppers. Okay, and when you get to this part, the part no one really likes, right, that white pithy part, I just use the tip of the knife and gently saw through it, pull that out, and that goes in the trash. I don't like them this long, so after I slice them, just pull them back into a pile and I cut them in half. And there you go. Those go into each salad. For the celery, I cut it on a slight angle. I guess the culinary term would be I cut it on a bias, but it just gives you slightly longer pieces of celery. So these I also cut rather thin. So you're looking at about, this thickness, if you can see that, fairly thin. Just because I don't want people to have a lot of celery strings as they're chewing this. So I'll run through cutting the rest of this and we can move on to the cucumber. For the cucumber, I like to seed the cucumber because this is a peeled English cucumber, but use whatever is in season. I like to peel it, and I like to take the seeds out of it because they can make the salad watery, especially if it sits overnight for a couple of days or if you have leftovers. So to do that, I just break it down into manageable chunks, and then I use a spoon to scrape out the inside, which leaves you with a shape that looks like a half moon. And then to go in the salad, these I slice a little bit thicker than the pepper, probably about here, but it gives you a nice, seedless chunk of cucumber. So those are all going in the salad too. So that's the dressing, guys. And I mean, I'll tell you, every time I make this, man, once you taste it, you could almost eat just the dressing straight. It is that good. It just tastes really outstanding. So that's it. Let's mix this all up. Don't want to waste any of the dressing. Really, fresh herbs just brighten everything up, and this salad is no exception. The parsley, or if you use cilantro, it just makes such a big difference, in the lemon zest too. So you can see swapping to the larger mixing vessel was a good idea. And you can also see just how many vegetables we have in there. So it gives you nice crunch, bit of a refreshing contrast with the fresh herbs, and it's a nice contrast to heavy barbecue. You know, it goes well with it, helps cut through all that meat. All right, well, there you go, guys. I would highly recommend giving this one a shot. I would warn you that whoever's barbecue you bring it to, you know, maybe you should bring printed recipes, printed copies of the recipe, because, you know, we just took this camping. There was, I think, 5 families camping, and all of them except for one have asked me for the recipe. So, all right, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy.